He's a global superstar. He's really one of the first people that you think of when you think of professional wrestling. He's somebody that transcended the industry, and everybody knows who Hulk Hogan is. So this is shocking. This is very big, breaking, shocking news.
It began quietly, no loud announcement, no dramatic music, just the deep stillness that fills the air when a legend steps away forever. The wrestling world seemed to stop for a moment. Fans across the globe froze in disbelief, holding their breath. Then, the news broke. Hulk Hogan, born Terry Bollea, was gone. The shock hit like a sudden punch to the chest. Millions felt the sting of loss. Too many. He wasn't only a wrestler. He was an icon, a cultural powerhouse. His voice once thundered through arenas and poured out of televisions into living rooms everywhere. But on this night, all that remained were quiet memories, heavy with sorrow. Before we go any further, imagine yourself there, because this was more than just another celebrity farewell. It was a moment when a community gathered not just to grieve, but to honor. Inside Tampa's arena, a place that had seen countless matches and roaring crowds, the atmosphere had changed completely.
Or longer years since I got left Hulk Hogan, and my family is in the worst mess. Brooke doesn't talk to us. She's had twins. She got married. She didn't tell us. She had twins. She didn't tell us. She had a huge fight with Terry.
It was now a cathedral of remembrance. Thousands of people came together, many dressed in Hulk's famous red and yellow. Bandanas waved gently, and I shimmered with tears. The ringside seats sat empty, a silent sign of respect. Fans formed a wide circle around the squared stage of living, moat protecting the space where Hogan once stood. Huge video screens lit up with memories. Hogan ripping his shirt in half, body slamming Andre the Giant, raising his arms in victory, and shouting in that voice that could lift a crowd to its feet. Each clip brought back the echoes of decades.
We lost one of the biggest and most globally recognized icons in the world. A man I grew up watching, was fortunate enough to share the ring with, and like so many of us, were honored to call a friend.
Of cheers, but the most emotional part of the evening belonged to one voice, his daughter, Brooke Hogan. She walked to the microphone in a simple white dress. There were no stage tricks, no dramatic lighting, no rehearsed lines, only truth, vulnerability, and love. You knew him as Hulk Hogan, she said softly, but to me, he was Dad. The arena fell silent. Every wrestle, every whisper, stopped. It was as if her words wrapped the entire room in a quiet embrace. Brooke shared stories the public had never heard. She told how, even after performing in front of sold-out crowds, her father would kneel beside his bed at night to pray. How he'd wake her early for fishing trips at dawn. How he'd write sweet little notes on index cards and tuck them into her lunchbox before school. These weren't moments for cameras or headlines. They were pieces of the man only his family knew. She read a line from a letter.
Just like that. And I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to him. And I woke up funky and I went, oh, shit, what is it? And then I realized that was it. It was just like in here, in my wiring and in my constitution, that it was just hitting me, and it was heavy on my heart. So I wanted to share something with.
He had once written to her, "If I failed in music, family was my song." The crowd's quiet broke into soft cries and sniffles. Between speeches, a tribute video played. It showed not just his career highlights, but personal, behind-the-scenes moments, home videos of him laughing with his children, walking through grocery store aisles, greeting fans in small towns, and even goofing around during training. It was the unpolished, human side of a man the world had mostly seen as larger than life. Brooke returned later for a second, shorter speech. This time, she read a poem her father had written on the day she was born. My baby girl rose like the morning tide, my strength reborn in her eyes. The audience broke down again. After the service,
Year you've been at the RNC, you're on Fox, you're doing this Great American Beer Tour.
Well, I'm always looking for an opportunity, now that I don't wrestle anymore because I'm too old to wrestle.
Sure.
And the thing came up where I saw an open lane for a beer, light beer that America needs, a beer that was made, for Americans, made in America. And the owners live here. We're the only beer company that actually lives here. And there was an open lane that somebody dropped the ball on marketing-wise. I'm not going to name any names. And so we just started, and we came up with the name, the Real American Beer, way before we got our nation back. So the timing was perfect. It's kind of like we jumped on another lightning bolt, and we're running.
I got to ask.
Off. I used to live in Minnesota. There's a lot of nice people up there, I lived there for 4 years, by the way. But the guy that challenged him, I wouldn't want anything to do with him. It's Kane, the Undertaker's brother.
Okay, yeah.
He's way too big and too...
fans gathered outside the arena. They lit paper lanterns and released them into the warm Florida night. Thousands of little lights floated upward together. Neon signs nearby flashed Hulkamania, LIVES, as fists rose toward the sky in tribute. On a small outdoor stage, a local band played a unique mixed Black Sabbath riffs blended with acoustic guitar. People of all ages stood together, Gen Z kids who had only seen Hogan on YouTube, and older fans who had watched him wrestle live in the 80s. Together, they found comfort in shared memories. The news of the tribute spread worldwide. CNN called it one of the most emotional farewells in sports history. Rolling Stone wrote, "He never walked alone, he ran headfirst into the hearts of his fans." WWE released a limited edition red and yellow tribute shirt. All proceeds would fund a scholarship in Hogan's name, the Hogan Heart Scholarship, designed to help underprivileged athletes and performers chase their dreams. In interviews afterward, Brooke spoke about what it meant to carry her father's legacy. "Grief," she said, "is living side by side with what someone left behind. Dad battled public headlines, physical pain, and personal struggles. But for me, the hardest thing was growing up as his daughter under the spotlight." Fans began sharing their own stories online. TikTok filled with clips of people explaining how Hulk Hogan had inspired them. A bullied teenager said Hogan's example made him feel seen. A gym coach explained that watching Hogan wrestle taught him to face life with courage. A young singer revealed she had learned to project her voice like Hogan projected his catchphrases into packed stadiums. The hashtag Hulk forever trended worldwide. One man wrote, "When my dad lost his job, we stayed strong watching Hulk. He taught me resilience." A mother posted, "My daughter found comfort in Hogan's matches when her father passed. Tonight we both cried?" Yes, Hogan had the spray, tan, the bandanas, and the giant muscles. But for many, he was also a symbol of something deeper: grit, confidence, and the courage to stand up for yourself and for others. This tribute wasn't about nostalgia. It wasn't just about remembering old matches or championships. It was about acknowledging the full human being behind the persona. For decades, Hulk Hogan had been a showman, someone who could make a crowd erupt with excitement. But Brooke's words reminded everyone that beyond the ring, he was also a father, a friend, and a man who healed as much with kindness as he could intimidate with strength. That night, the story of Hulk Hogan shifted. People looked past old controversies and saw him not as a perfect hero, but as a flawed human one, someone who had given joy to millions and love to those closest to him. Brooke's tribute became a lesson in how to honor someone's life. It showed that you can remember without blind idolization, that you can feel loss without bitterness, and that it's possible to grieve publicly without losing yourself privately. As the night ended, Brooke left the stage with quiet dignity. Fans lingered, unwilling to let go of the moment. The ring stood empty under soft lights, like a monument to a man who had once filled it with unmatched energy. And yet, somehow, it didn't feel entirely empty, because the love, the stories, and the inspiration he had given still filled the air. If this story moves you, share your favorite Hulk Hogan memory. Not for attention or clicks, but for compassion and connection, because Hulk Hogan's legacy doesn't just live in championship, belts, roaring chants, or the pages of wrestling history. It lives in moments of courage. It lives in lessons about standing tall. It lives in the small acts of love that never make headlines. It lives in us. Rest in red and yellow. Hulk, you shook the world, but more importantly, you loved one world. In particular, your families, and that voice, that energy, still echoes in the hearts of those who remember. So if you're watching this, take a moment. Remember the way Hulk made you feel, whether it was as a kid on the couch, a fan in the stands, or thus someone passing by his story. Carry that energy into your own life. Be someone's hero, even in small ways, because Hulk Hogan's legacy doesn't fade with time. It lives in the people who were inspired by him. It lives in the moments of courage we pass on to others. Rest in red and yellow. Hulk, you slammed giants in the ring, but you lifted even more hearts outside of it. And, for that, the world will never forget you. Hulkamania lives forever.